let's overview the display in the new Revic BLR10b range-finding binoculars. Then we'll cover the buttons, the menu settings, and navigation, and then we'll finish on quick keys. So I've got an outdoorsman tripod stud. I'm going to use this to help me demonstrate this system, but it's really nice for ranging and for glassing. Get my perspective right. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is look at this display, and the main things that you have access to, I'm going to just turn this on so you can see it, is the aiming circle. So that's where you're going to start. You're going to see the aiming circle in the center. That's present in all modes, all power situations when you've got it turned on. So there's my aiming circle. Above the aiming circle, we have a 7-segment display called our upper segment. And below it, we have our lower segment. And then, you've got your yard meter indicators down to the right. And then up on the left side, if we start at the bottom, you have a Bluetooth indicator. So when it's on and flashing, it's in pairing mode. If it's not there, then Bluetooth's off. And if it's on and solid, then you're connected. You've got your battery display. And by the way, the battery display is counting on you guys feeding it a lithium battery. And then above that, we have our long range mode indicator. So we'll talk about that more when we talk about targeting modes, but that says you're either in long range mode, or if it's not there, then it's off. And then we finish with our wind clock. And that wind clock is essentially a diamond made up of 12 little segments. So we use it for entering the wind direction. So you can do 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock wind. But once you calculate your ballistics, it also will illuminate like a right arrow or an up arrow to show a up correction or a right correction. So the upper segment is generally your output for your ballistics, your wind and elevation. The lower segment is the output for your range, or if you've enabled shoot to range, your BDC correction there as well. So pretty straightforward on the display. We've tried to simplify it as much as we can because this is an imaging device and we are going to spend a lot of time glassing. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible. All right, let's talk buttons. So we've got 4 buttons: fire button, menu button, up and down button. And don't argue with me about why the up arrow and the down arrow are the way they are. They just are. If you're holding the device like this, down is down. So generally we're dealing in this range. So we felt like the down button should be the down. So down is that way. All right, so to use the fire button, you can use it to turn on the device. So you press and hold for 2 seconds. That turns the device on. If you press it once quickly, that initiates a single measurement mode range. And if you use the menu button, 1 button press helps navigate. You can combine it with some quick keys. A 3-second button press will enter the settings menu. And then, like I said, we've got some quick key combinations as well. So pretty easy to navigate. When you're in the settings menu, like you press and hold for 3 seconds, pops the settings menu up. You navigate by using the arrows up and down to find the item that you want to adjust. And once you're there, you'll short press the menu button to select that item to edit it. And generally you'll see some flashing. So then use your arrow buttons to adjust that item to the value you want. And when you're done, you press the fire button to save that value and it returns you up just to the main settings menu. Now, if you want to go all the way back to the main display, just hit the fire button again and it takes you back to the main display. So when you're using the device, if you just remember, menu selects and advances where fire saves and exits. So it's a fairly straightforward navigation routine. Let's just go over a few of the settings menu items that we have here. So turn it on. 3 seconds takes us to the settings menu. The first one that pops up is the temperature, and it's going to show you the temperature value the device is reading right now. If you get in a situation where this temperature is much different than the ambient, you know it's wrong. Let's say more than 20 degrees wrong. You can use the arrow buttons to adjust that after you press menu, and that puts you in a manual measurement mode. So now you've overrid that temperature to say 65 degrees. It will stay 65 degrees on that setting until the device goes to sleep and powers off. Then it'll reset back to the automatic sensor. So a couple other really cool settings that we have, if you take a look, is the next one is the range mode. So you either have range only, which allows us to transmit the vector back to our app, or just to collect some vector data that we want without ballistics. You've got range mode. If you pick the other option, which is a profile, you have a profile on the device, you navigate to that one and pick it. Now you can do ballistic solutions with that fire button press. So we'll talk about ranging with ballistics in the future. And one thing that you'll see is you'll have profile, and then if you select it, it will scroll to show you the first letters of your profile so you can confirm that it's the right profile. Now, the next item that we want to look at is units, and you can basically select US and yards, SI and meters, and the other two combinations of those. And generally, we're just going to leave that on US and yards. You can switch between right and left hand. That one's pretty cool. And the buttons indicate that with an F and an M and an up arrow and a down arrow. So if you do run left-handed, it's there. You've got latitude, so it ships from the factory with north 44 degrees. You can change that to your location. If you go way outside of the US, absolutely you need to shift. You know, down in southern Texas, maybe you need to shift. We've got a compass calibration, which is kind of cool. If you're going to calibrate your compass, go outside, get away from the metal building. Try to stay away from any big, like your car or truck. And then when you initiate that calibration, you just do figure eights for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then that picked up the calibration, so that's done. That one's pretty easy, and you can always check that with your, say like your measured values menu, or, you know, looking at your vector so you can see, did I get the right setting? Is north. All right, so the next one that we have is Bluetooth. And Bluetooth, you can run automatic, you can run off. So if we turn that to on, then it'll automatically detect and pick up. So now back at the main display, I can see the Bluetooth icon flashing. That means that it's looking for a device to pair. If you want to conserve or you're not connecting, you can turn it off and it'll stay off. It'll stay off after a power off. But if Bluetooth is turned on, every time you power up the device, the Bluetooth icon is going to flash. It's looking for a device to connect to. So you can connect to the Gen 2 Radical Rifle Scope, you can connect to the BHD, you can connect to your phone, whether it's an Android or iPhone, and connect to the Revic app there. So it's looking for that device to pair to. Now, once you've connected to the device, it's going to bond. And that way, the next time you turn everything on, you don't have to repair it. It'll just connect and operate. So the last thing we need to cover is quick keys. Now, quick keys are essentially a button or a button combination that allows you to access a feature without going into the settings menu. So technically, something like pressing the fire button is a quick key. Another real simple quick key is if you do a short press of the menu button while the device is on, that will change your targeting mode. And you have near, far, then you have long range near, long range far. We'll talk about those again in another video. The other quick key item that's pretty cool is we move the brightness setting out of the settings menu into a quick key. So to access that one, device is on, press the menu button, and before 3 seconds are up, press the up arrow or the down arrow and just adjust it setting 1, 2, 3, 4 or auto, whichever one works for you the best, okay? Most of the time, auto is going to work for you just right, except for those really low light situations, you might want to just force it into like a brightness setting 1. So pretty easy to change the brightness now. Another one that is pretty cool when you're doing ballistics is to input a wind vector. So now we're going to use that wind clock, and I'll just run you through the navigation. Essentially, we'll put in the direction first, then we'll save the direction, then we'll put in the speed. So to enter any type of wind input, the first thing that you do, display is on, I'm ready to go, I can see the wind clock because I've got my profile turned on. I hit any of the arrow buttons, down or up, and just dial that to the direction that you want. And in the upper segment, it has a clock position that it will also display to help make sure that you know where you're at. So when the wind clock and the number indicate and change when you push the button, that means you're setting the wind direction. So that's the direction the wind's coming from. Once you have that set how you want it, press the menu button, and now you're in the speed menu. So now just push the button up or down, and you'll see the wind clock stays the same, but the value changes. And once you have the value you want, press fire to save it. And now when you take a range, it will calculate the ballistics based on that specific wind vector. And we'll talk about base wind versus vector wind in another video. There's one more very quick key that's handy to have, and that accesses your measured values. It's kind of a research tool where we'll let you dial in to the bino and explore all the sensor settings and all the measurements that you took on the last reading. So if I just took a range at a target downrange, and I want to know, well, what was the incline? What was the temperature? What was the pressure? What was the elevation correction, windage correction, etc.? I can just jump into this measured values menu. And the way I do that, again, it's a combination button press. So with the display on, I press the menu button and hold it. And before 3 seconds is up, hit the fire button. And then once you're in that menu, you just use your arrow buttons to just scroll through the entire set of data that you just collected. So this is a really good way to research. You know, I'm really comfortable with my app and my ballistics and my ballistic solution. And I want to know, can I get parity between the device and the app? And so here's all your inputs. You can plug those values into your app and you can say, oh, well, the inputs are the same, the outputs are the same. So then you can have some confidence that your device is working well. I think that's a pretty good overview of our display, our buttons, our menu, navigation, and our quick keys. If you want to take a deeper dive into that, just jump online to revicoptics.com, or you can pull up your Revic Optics app. You can go to product manuals, so you can access it there as well. And if you want to dive into those settings menus a little bit more, or make sure you see all the different quick key options, that's a really good way to reference that. And it's really accessible on your app or online. So in the next couple videos, we're going to take a deep dive into ranging, and we're going to explore ballistics and how all those systems work together. So make sure you tune in.